Hello, hello, welcome back to Bishop Chapter once again. It's been a while since my last one. Apologies for that, but I've been very stuck for time working on this project. But here we are. Here's what I've got. Let's just jump straight in, shall we? I've been working hard on this wall. If you remember the last video, I showed you the different pieces and sections of the wall that I was going to piece together to build it all the way around, which I did. So we've got this nice kind of consistent, lovely pattern. My corner pieces didn't quite work out as planned, so I had to improvise. But that's something I can fix further down the line, I think, or I hope. And, well, yeah, that's the walls. I had to make some adjustments to the terrain. I'm gonna sort this out another time. As long as it's all there for now, that's fine. If you remember me saying as well, I'm gonna hold off on texturing just for now, because I want to get all the important stuff first. It's very much a project focused on the mechanics of the puzzles. So I don't want to waste, well, it's not a waste of time, but I don't want to spend time unnecessarily in areas that aren't going to be assessed. And these are not my trees, these are trees I downloaded, but I wanted to just kind of get some kind of greenery here. I haven't painted on the textures for the terrain yet, but I'll get around to that. Again, it's some textures I've downloaded. Link to this, which is it's a free pack on the Epic Games marketplace. So yeah, fair bit of progress, and I've also been working a bit on the mechanics. So if I pop you into the first person character, so I've got a big string here that allows the player to highlight objects that can be interacted with. I'll show you that in a second. And then this line trace interaction then is a string that allows you to pick up collectibles. So any object that I want to be picked up, I can just tag and it gets referenced here. So let me show you that quickly. So you'll see some red lines on the screen. They won't be there in the final game. That's just kind of it's a kind of a debugging thing, just so I can see line lengths, and it's to give me a reference for things that are going to be making contact with this code, with these code strings related to the line trace. So if I click left click, for example, you won't see it. No, that's a bad example. There's a red line. Basically, a red line fires out of my pointer like a laser. There you go. You can see it there. And then it ends after a set number. And when it makes contact with something, like this wall, it makes a nice little red square, showing me that the line has registered contact with something. So it means that I can measure how far away I need to be from something before the game will pick up that I've made contact with it. So there you go, about this far. So you can try that, for example, with this little chess piece here. It's a bishop, of course. So you can see when I get in range of it, based on the code string, get a nice little white highlight. And then when I click it, it picks up. If you look in the top left, it said bishop added. Let me show you that again. So look in the top left, bishop added. Beautiful. Amazing. That's what I want. I just need to disable all these red lines now, and it'll be fine. Now, this is the first puzzle of the game. But before I jump into that, let me show you the concept art for it, which you might have seen. I posted recently on the Instagram. So, the idea is that you begin the game inside this jail cell. There'll be a door, obviously, locked up, locking you in. And when you look around, you'll be able to get first impressions of the room from behind the bars, and you'll see this strange thing with each box being labelled. I'll show you that in a second. But after a while, you'll start to discover things in the cell with you. Once you stop looking outside and start looking inside, you'll find a light bulb, which won't work. And then you'll find a removable panel, which I haven't determined yet if it's going to be on the wall or on the floor, down here, or even down here. Probably the floor, thinking about it. It just makes more sense. But yeah, it'll reveal a console, which then you'll figure out controls these containers. They hold kind of spheres made of different things, and those drop and roll down this into the basin, and then some numbers change on the board, and that is the puzzle to solve. Assuming you solve it and get out, we have some other things dotted around the room. I've put lore clues for now because I want to make it into something, a document. We've got one of the collectibles will be comic pages. I talked briefly before about how I wanted to make I wanted to put some of my comic pages in this as a way of pre-releasing it or rewarding players who want to read the comic or find this game through the comic with some pre-release pages. I don't know. It's still an idea I'm playing with, but for now it's just a placeholder collectible. And then the other collectible we have is the chess pieces. So you'll find your first one here, which is likely the bishop. And there'll be a chessboard on the table here, which you can interact with, and it places whatever chess piece you have in your possession on the board. And once all 16, I think, once all 16 pieces are found, it unlocks a cheeky little something. So it's not required to complete the game or to escape the map, but yeah, you do get a little something for unlocking it. If we take a closer look at the design for the puzzle, so you can see here I've utilized a lot of different visual signals, much like you see in classic puzzle games like Myst and Riven, which I guess is Myst 2, but games like that. I was going to use the Witness as an example when I was looking into this, but the Witness is it's more of a, the puzzles in it are very, it's hard to explain. They're kind of like line puzzles. They're not as practical as this, they're not as elaborate as this, but they do play around with recurring mechanics and some hidden rules that you figure out through trial and error, which is very much akin to this puzzle. I very much want to encourage players to fail a lot at this puzzle before they figure it out. So players will be able to see this board with numbers and scales. It's a bit on the nose, I know, but it's simply to convey the fact that each side needs to be balanced. And although that's quite simple to figure out from this image, getting there is a bit more of a task. So I'll try and explain it. Each container has a ball made of a different material, and each material weighs a different value. But you don't know what these values are And in the control panel down here, which is just a quick mock-up of how it'll look, I'm thinking about building it in 3D rather than 2D, but we'll see what happens. But each symbol controls one of these pods, but it doesn't say which one. So you need to figure out which button releases which ball, and then how much that ball weighs. Say for example you press the I, and a wooden ball rolls out, splashes into here, and then this 62 becomes 59, and this 7 becomes 6. It's easy to presume then that the left side is the weight and the right side is the number of balls, right? I guess. Either way, it shouldn't take too long to come to that conclusion. So the idea is to completely negate this 62, only using 7 balls exactly. And just to throw a spanner in the works, the rubber ball resets the whole puzzle. And again, you don't know which button that is. So you need to associate a symbol to a material to a weight. And you need to get both of these sides to equal 0 for the door to open. This button down here, the final confirmation when the puzzle is complete. It's just to make sure players don't stumble into the solution. I want people to understand the concept. And when both these sides are 0, they need to hit this button, and that is what will trigger the door to open. It seems a little bit of a harsh puzzle to start the game with because it's maths and it kind of locks you into place. There's no way around it. Like, you have to solve this puzzle before you can see any of the map, really. But I quite like that. I think it's sort of an entry-level test. It shows you a bunch of the mechanics that are going to be recurring in the puzzles, and it forces you in this cage to solve this puzzle. And the reward is, hey, you get to look around the game and try the other puzzles now. Yeah, I've got the A solution up here. I'm not sure if it's going to be concrete, but if you do end up playing this game, once it's done and you're stuck, then here's the answer. And just to emphasize how the game will reward those who are more observant, there's another little clue here. The plastic sign has fallen onto the floor. Not that that really helps massively, because you can still just associate a number 1 to 5 to the weights or to the buttons. You don't necessarily need to know the material, it's just an extra thing to add a bit of context to the puzzle. Just want to insert here that this ball weight puzzle is very much inspired by this section from Myst III Exile, where you are trying to balance a tube so that a massive ball can roll across, but the ball needs to weigh the right amount depending on what's on the scale, and you build one of the balls yourself using little segments, crystal, wood, metal, but the very, very early stage of the game, it's not even in this part of the map. Okay, this is the part, so right at the beginning of the game you find an office with this. It's seemingly random, you have no context for it, it's just a scale, and it shows you that the one metal ball weighs the same as 4 crystals. And then this information comes into play. Here's another example of it. 1 crystal weighs the same as 4 wooden balls. And you can see that there's experiments of fusing different materials onto the one ball, and yeah, it's seemingly random, but an observant player is expected to pick up on that in order to solve the actual giant ball puzzle later in the game. Just wanted to add that in there, that this first puzzle is very much inspired by this part of Myst 3. I'm not sure if I'm going to go through with this, it's just an idea I had at the time when I was drawing it, but I've made these tops different colours, with the idea being that players might note it down or think that that has some link to what they have to do, but it's just irrelevant. The colours don't mean anything. That's a bit mean though, I might not do that. And finally I want to talk about how I've titled this, although it is the jail cell puzzle, I've codenamed it the Anubis puzzle, because I'm running with the Egyptian theme, which we've already talked about, and I think it'd be cool if I make all these puzzles sort of related to Egyptian mythology a bit more. So Anubis being sort of guardian of the underworld, who would quite classically, when you die, he'd weigh your heart against a feather, and if it balanced out, then you'd be allowed passage into the afterlife, or if not, it would show that you're evil or just not worthy, and then you wouldn't be granted access into the afterlife. I think there's like an alternate afterlife then, sort of like a hell, but more like an underworld. But yeah, it's the scales concept that I've linked to Anubis. So you're weighing your knowledge, I guess, your learning ability, and then the reward is passage into not so much the afterlife, but the game. You could read into that as much as you want. So jumping back to the game, I've got a little mock-up here of the puzzle. I've not got the balls programmed in yet, but I've just been working on getting this text to display. So I've got a trigger box here, and when you walk into it, it deducts off the left value, and if I quickly add another one, bear with me, I'll put it, I'll tell you what, I'll move this one over there, and I'll move this one over here. I'll copy this code string quickly. Let's have a look. Take away one. Oh, let's go from this guy. Plug him in. Plug him in. Oh no. Plug him into there. Plug him into there. And then reset. Neat. Now if I jump back into the game, you'll see when I get near the screen, hopefully. Actually, '62 and I was meant to say 7, but I walked in the box. So if I go left, it takes away. If I go right, it takes away. Left, right. 0. I don't think I can get this to equal 0. No, it's minus 0.5. But anyway, that's going to be the code then I use to make this puzzle work, really. So, yeah, that's, I think that's all the new stuff I've got to show for this episode. After I'm finished recording this, I'll be moving on to starting to build the room. So the room you saw in the concept will be right here, and the jail cell is going to be this part of the building. And I'm going to be building the interface for the puzzle as well before I fully code it in, because I need the buttons to link up. So I need some kind of even placeholder interface set up just so I can get all the code planted and working. And then I'll hopefully show off this puzzle next time. The schedule's changed quite a lot just because I've pushed a lot of the concept art and research back, because I do want to get at least one puzzle polished before I move on. I like having this wall done now because it does feel like I'm making visual progress in the level. I would still like to get the terrain painted on though, just for that added thing. But baby steps. Hopefully I'll be finding out my deadline soon, so I can actually plan and not just take it day by day, hoping that I'm not wasting time on something that doesn't need to be worked on. So yeah, it's been a bit of a rough one trying to schedule this. It just seems to constantly change every day. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this episode once more. I hope you're sort of into this. Hope I'm not boring the pants off you, showing you all this. I would like to get a bit more technical about it, but I want a bit more of my own code down first, and then I'll talk a lot about how the puzzle's working and what it's doing. But yeah, that's it for now. That's me. Take care. See you next time. Goodbye.